today I decided to do some work on my motor stand where I'm going to have one built, and I've got another couple motors coming in. And the surface of my plate for mounting my engines is no longer flat the way it should be after all the years of using it. So we thought we'd set it up in my little mill here for all it is. And we're going to see if we can level those surfaces off even so we know we're square when we set in there. That's the plan. So what we found while we had our stand mounted and when we started to machine it is that there was too much vibration in the top. So we had to stop, reset, and decide what we were going to do. And we opted to put a brace on each side and clamp it down, which worked out perfectly. So we've got our engine stand all turned down now with a nice flat surface. So we know that the engine is going to sit square. Then we can put our cases on there and make sure that everything's lined up. And hopefully we won't have too much problems. Occasionally you have to shim a part of the motor underneath. That's not unusual for a shovel hit if you tighten the rear motor mounts down first. But this is nice and level now. We know for a surface to put this motor and many more probably on. And it was out quite a bit. I needed to machine quite a bit off it. But we'll get it ready to go. Today we've decided to revamp our motor stand. There's a few changes I'd like to make to it. And it's worked very well over the years. But at this point I got a bunch of motors backed up to do. And I think it's a good time to just take a moment and get the thing straightened out. And we'll put some extra braces on it. We've got our top leveled off where we want it. So we're going to clean it up and make some changes. This piece here, I want to make this removable here because when you're getting in at the timing plugs and the other things, it's a bit of a hassle to try to work in underneath of it. So we're going to make this removable, and yeah, we'll just go along here and work away at it. Well, we're ready to put our second coat on today, and then hopefully tomorrow we can get at the black paint on it. Takes a while to dry. Temperatures are dropping here, and we've got to work on it when we can. So here we are the next day. We've got things masked up now, so I'm gonna put a few stripes on it just for looks. Just makes extra work, but sometimes you have to do things. So we're gonna try to touch everything up with black today. Hoping I'm gonna get a couple coats in and be done with it, and then we can start assembling the machine. Seems like a long, tedious thing to do, and painting is not my thing. But we're gonna work away at it and see what we can do. We've got it masked off, so we're ready to go. So we're gonna start putting the paint to it. So the machine's taking shape. I got some pieces I want to make for the front yet, and then she'll be pretty well complete. So now we're going to cut out our faceplate here on Eleanor, and we'll see how it goes. So there, we pretty well got the thing all together. Hopefully All we got to do now is build the motor and put in it, and then we can run it. We've got all new lines on everything. We've got all our new pieces on there. So it looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with the way it's turned out. And I'm anxious to run it and see what happens. But that's it. Simple motor stand that you can build depending on what you can do and what you can't do. But it's not that difficult, and it's something that I've used many times, and it is always a blessing in disguise. If something goes wrong, a gasket leaks or something, you can fix it right on the stand. You can also set the carb, set the ignition, do all those sort of things, pre-run it, torque down the shovels, get it all ready to go, so when the customer gets it, he can slide it in his bike with confidence, know that it's been run, gone through his first couple cycles, and it's good to go. So we'll get back to you when we have a motor built and ready to put on there. We fabricated up these extra braces for the machine to give it a little more strength when it comes time to start it up. So this is our basic setup, just for those of you that are curious. We've got this wheel out of a 78 Honda, and we've taken the main shaft, an old transmission main shaft. We've machined a piece here to weld onto it, and it's bolted into the other side of the flywheel, and that's what holds it on. These pillar blocks give us the ability to adjust back and forth. And you can see the flywheel turns there. It's just a tapered shaft, transmission shaft, and we've got the sprocket, an early style sprocket on it, and a pillar block inside. This whole unit here is adjustable up and down, and we've just used machinist blocks with two teeth in them, and once we get our height, we can put this up and just lock it down into place, and that locks the whole piece in place there. From this here, we'll go up to the motor crankshaft, and we'll run a early primary chain through there. And we're just using the regular starter for it and a solenoid. And that's how it works. We've got our lock in here at the moment. So we'll take the lock out. We use our little wedge piece so that we can lock it up. Just slide that through, and that enables us to be able to lock this in position and torque it on, plus torque the stuff onto the motor tight, and so that nothing will move or come loose on us, hopefully. The whole unit is bolted right down into the floor, and we've got about 1/4 inch thick rubber all the way around it. We'll put our battery in here, and that'll give us all the power we need for cranking it over. So we charge our battery up to make sure it's got a good charge in it. We can switch the thing on when we want just power to turn it over, and when we put power to the ignition, we use that switch. So it gives us good control and the ability to shut it down quick if we have to. We're basically using an old sort of pump spray can, and we've just put a fitting in here and gobbed it up with JB Weld to make sure we don't have any leaks, and we have an on and off tap here for it, and it stays independent from the machine. So if the machine happens to shake and vibrate, this stays by itself on the wall. We've got some of our wiring done here now, and we've hooked our tack in. We've got our oil pressure gauge that we can use when we're getting the motor on there. So we've run all our wiring down here now. We've put this little connector doohickey there to make it easy to hook up, and we've also got a couple wires so that we can hook up our ignition system, or we can put ends on it and connect it direct. Depends what they have on the ignition system when we go to do it. We've also made this little plate here to put on here in case you're wondering what it's for, and it's for hooking up an S&S carburetor or any double bolt carburetor. But I can hook the fuel line on it here, and I can make sure the exhilarator pump is working, set it where it's supposed to be, do all the settings, make sure that it's working exactly as it's supposed to, that the float bill's filling up, and it's not overflowing. Make sure the float's right. So we can do all that right here before we put it on the bike. So it's a handy little thing, especially if you're rebuilding a S&S carburetor. As you know, you can't just pull the bottom off where all the bearings and little ball bearings and things will fall out. So this way you can quickly remove it, take it off, and do what you have to do and put it back on, and we can check it here to make sure everything's okay. So now we have everything hooked up here. We can hold our oil lines up here when we're not using them, and that'll keep them from draining back. So we can see clear lines, so we can see what's going on. When it comes time to hook things up, we can watch our oil flow return and go like it's supposed to, so that we know it's happening properly. I've got one of these big long filters that we don't use too often. We're for some of the Dynas, so we'll use them on the engine stand. I have a few extras, and other than that, the whole unit looks pretty well ready to go. But that about completes the installation, so we're all ready for a new project.